Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Double9 Radio.
Right, thank you. Well, thank you for having me on, Chris.
No, thank you. It's Double9. It's Double9. Double9 here on the show with, I don't know, I'm not even going to say your name yet because once we confirm that you're coming on the show, my excitement as I had to be addressed in such a way that I could even get other guests on the show. But it's about to explode. But do bear with me if I sound too excited on the show. It's just because of the caliber of the individual I have on the show today.
Thank you. You got me really hyped now. So
I like that. I've got you that hype because we want to find out about a lot of information from you today regarding the topic today, which I'm not even going to go into yet. But before we actually start, can you tell us who do we have on the show today?
Right. Hi, guys. My name is Mimi Bakari Marwa. And yes, it's a double barrel. I retain my maiden name. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a Nigerian British entrepreneur based in Nigeria and the UK.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, she just gave a very modest introduction there. But I would say this is Mimi, the one and only Mimi, the multi-talented individual, serial entrepreneur who has the Midas touch on anything that she touches as well. She's a great individual, very humble, very down to earth, and very approachable as well. Once again, I want to say thank you for coming on the show today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I really am honored to be on the show, especially with your past guests. So I'm kind of thinking, oh God, do I need to learn how to perform or something, or
not at all, because it's natural for you. For us, I think we have to learn it. So I need to match your energy. This is why this is happening here. But let's get right to it. I mean, today we're talking about, investment in property, in the UK, because you did mention that, you're in between Nigeria and UK, but you're proudly Nigerian. I mean, I love that, proudly Nigerian, the green, white, green out there being, being talked about, which is good. I mean, I don't want to talk about Nigeria too much because I might get emotional,
Oh, bless. Is that for the food or just everything else?
I know. Imagine emotion and excitement. How's that going to happen? I got Mimi exciting me on one hand, and Nigeria trying to make me emotional. So I think I'll just stick with the excitement for this evening. Okay.
All right.
Great. Okay, so maybe I'll kind of give you a brief introduction. Very simple introduction, which I know that there should be more. I just didn't want to say too much there, but. Yeah. For listeners, for my listeners out there globally listening to us this evening, could you tell us who Mimi is?
Yeah, like I said, I'm Mimi Bakari Marwa. Some people know me as Mariam, and I'm a long-term entrepreneur. Got my first company myself, my idea, when I was 10 years old. Since then, I have been in everything. I've owned a media and public relations firm. I have owned, that was at age 22. I have owned, I've managed schools. I was on the board of trust for schools. We have a mall. I have a beauty and well-being, organic beauty and well-being company called Happy Divas. A new media company called Aisa Magazine. I think we're about 300,000 subscribers on social media at the moment.
Wow.
Of course, my main love and my kind of long-standing relationship is property investment in the UK. So I've got my company here in the UK called Franox Property. And then I've also got something I was encouraged to start because of all the questions I kept getting, called the Property Newbie. The Property Newbie is basically a no BS. Can I swear on this channel?
No, not yet. It's not that time of the day yet. You see, I try to warn my listeners with a subtle introduction I gave them there, but it's not yet. Maybe in about half an hour. Maybe about half an hour, just past 7. Just past 7.
They can't tell.
Yes.
So basically, I have something I set up pretty recently called the Property Newbie. It's a kind of investors group, and it's for people interested in property investing in the UK. And what we do is give you kind of bite-sized, no BS, talk through about what
Okay.
Everything is really
Okay.
clear, yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, we're going to go more into that as well because I want to know more about the property newbie. But before we get into that,
Yeah.
I want the listeners to get a feel of who we, what we have on the show today. The caliber of the individual we have on the show today. So I want to talk about, let's talk about, your early roles, or jobs you had in the earlier part of your career, because you mentioned you started, growing a business from 10 years old and from 22 as well. Just to give a sense of who Mimi is more. So let's know about the kind of roles you held through your early part of your career.
Okay. Well, I have always been very entrepreneurial. Like many people, if you have Nigerian parents, especially my mom. My mom's like a tiger mom.
Okay.
So I ran this as a very young teen. She had furniture factories. She had construction companies. We were on international trade shows. I used to be the one organizing these shows. I dealt with a lot of the interior decor parts of the company.
Okay.
Much later on, when I was at uni, I was running a little chain of stores we had in Abuja. So these were like kind of corner stores we had in Abuja. I was the buyer for those. So I used to shop here for the wholesalers. This is in between uni. They didn't really care. They're just like, we need the stuff. So I'd go to all the buyers, get the stuff, get them shipped off, and, later ended up going to China, Dubai, all those places you go to, get stuff, send them back. So I've been trading for a very long time.
Amazing.
What I also found was anything I had interest in. I've worked in construction. I've worked with Balfour BT. I've worked with a label offshoot of V2. It was a music marketing company.
Okay.
I managed. So basically what happened was anything I had an interest in,
yes,
I found a way to monetize that.
You see, I mentioned that earlier. I said you had this Midas touch, that anything that you touch just turns to gold. Maybe because you coming on Double9Radio now is going to be explosive now. This is it.
Well, that is the goal. But to be honest, like I said, the reason I wanted to come on was to kind of give a realistic view. I've failed more times than I've succeeded.
Okay.
But of course, when you succeed, it's very loud. And that's what the only time people notice something is happening. But a lot of times. The music management, the music company we were with was a music marketing company. And we went off to work with an artist in New York. And while we were out there, we were fired.
Oh, wow.
Because I think they thought we were a bit too ambitious. I had, at the time, a Ghanaian business partner.
Yes.
And so by the time we got back, we'd made all these contacts, which we'd been building for the marketing company. And I thought to myself, I'm not wasting these contacts. I'd already kind of started managing DJs in the West End because I was going out a lot and I didn't want to be paying any fees and I wasn't going to be a door girl or a promoter.
Uh-huh.
So I managing DJs. So I got memberships to most of the clubs. So I kind of married all this experiences together and we set up a PR and marketing firm in Marble. Our first client at the time was Rockefeller.
Rockefeller, that's Jay-Z?
Yeah, we were actually working with Dame at the time.
Okay.
Just before, they sold off Rockaware. So we did a bit of promo for Rockaware. We worked with The Source, Europe. We worked with MTV. We worked with EA Games. We worked on the Princess Trust Every Music Festival. We worked on a few Universal artists which they were trying to sign or had signed. We did some street campaigns for. We were only around for about 18 to 24 months. So we did quite a lot in that.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot in that short space of time as well, making an impact. That's really good. So, at present now, you kind of like start doing more of your own stuff, not like trying to work at, with companies or trying to get contracts. You're starting your own business, creating your own organization, if I understand.
Yeah, even the PR company I'm talking about was our business. But what happened was I've kind of always worked for myself. In between school, in between life, I got married over 10 years ago. I moved back to Nigeria. And the business that I was doing there was I started like a kind of organic wellness company. In fact, we were the first of the type at the time. We're actually constantly being run on DSTV, keep getting calls about. What happened was I used to use Origins products, Kiehl's products, and I got to Nigeria. The prices or even just access to those products was just ridiculous. So I came into the UK, did some training with a Scottish firm, went back and started manufacturing. We went up to about 8 outlets in Nigeria.
Amazing.
So that's still running. That's still there. We've kind of started the fragrance line here in the UK as an e-commerce, on an e-commerce platform. But it's still running, very much running in Nigeria.
Amazing.
And like I said, also the new media company, that's still running, ISO magazine. In fact, it's taken on a life of its own. It's actually like, in terms of exposure on social media and stuff, it's actually the largest brand that we have.
I mean, Mimi, I'm saying this now live on air. You know, I'm coming to you. There has to be some sort of collaboration or Midas touch from your side. Because, you know, the success stories you're sharing on here is very inspiring. And I'm actually proud that, you know, you're Nigerian and you're a very proud Nigerian as well, and do things back home as well to reflect that you're also giving back to society, which is quite amazing.
Yes. That was kind of the basis. You know, I guess maybe because of our backgrounds and the way we're raised. So every time you try to do something, basically, okay, so this would kind of lead to what we're doing in terms of the property area.
Yeah.
When I started in the UK as a business, you know, not just as investments, which I'd started quite some time ago, but just as a business. When I started, it was just a couple of years ago. And, I was doing the service accommodation here in London. And, you know, people's property is glossy, isn't it? It's all hires, money, gloss this, gloss that. And that was fine because it brought in money. But I knew my kind of mid to long-term goal had to be something a bit more sustainable and something that had a bit more of a kind of social aspect to it. So I started delving into the first thing I did. I mean, when you start a business, you do a lot of research, don't you?
Of course, yeah.
And in London, we had 46% of the houses they needed were affordable housing. Now, where I was coming from, most of the people I'm dealing with, the developers, are looking towards the luxury end of the market, yeah?
Okay.
But even I personally know people that have properties in the UK that lie, like in London, that lie empty for most of the year. So I was just thinking, okay, so who are we selling these properties to? Like, I don't mind, okay, we're going to build these nice luxury flats, but there's not going to be life in them because there's nobody actually living in them. But when you have almost half of the properties that are actually needed have to be affordable housing, I started delving into that. And that's kind of the direction. You know, I have a policy we're doing now for my company, which is having 3,000, housing 3,000 people in 3 years. It's a very aggressive campaign. We kind of kicked it off in the last few weeks. And the whole idea was trying to raise the awareness, bring in people, whether property owners, whether investors, whether people that just want to get in the industry, for us to kind of address these issues. You know, like I said, it's all well and good having nice glossy buildings, and quite frankly, I don't see why affordable housing shouldn't be nice and glossy.
Of course.
If you live in London, it doesn't mean you're a total bomb. If you need, like, it's expensive. On average, I'm in central London. The rents here are astronomical. If you are going to be in a 2-bedroom, you're talking about $2,000 or so. So you should, in theory, be earning about £75,000, right?
Yeah, to be comfortable enough to afford that, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so when we start looking at data, how many people in the UK earn over 56,000? Not to speak of some, you know, like just trying to bring a bit of reality to the situation.
Yeah.
So that's where we come in. It's kind of, okay, let's be a bit realistic. I mean, this pandemic has totally, I think, kind of reset.
It's been I don't know whether it's negative or positive. But before we actually get into that, you know, I see you talk about, you know, property investment with a lot of passion behind that. You know, I mean, what drives your passion for property investment?
You know, I'm from a family of travelers. So as a very young child, I'll give a bit of background. My father is a Fulani guy from Adamawa State, so that's in the north of Nigeria. And my mother is an Essex woman from Cross River State.
Amazing. Look at the mix. That's like two ends, isn't it? Like, you know.
So you can imagine every holiday was a juggle between where are we going to be. So was I going to be in Lagos, where I was schooling, or in Yola, or in Calabar, or in Kano, or in Jos, or in England, or in Paris? So the one thing my mom used to drive home was, if you cannot find your grandfather's grave in that town, is not your home.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
That's where that is where my kind of connection and my drive to owning property came from. Because wherever you went, if you did not own what you were living in, you were a visitor.
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And even where you owned it, and like she said, your grandfather's grave is not easily located in that place, you are a resident visitor. So you need to like conduct yourself with a bit of, you have to behave in that place.
Of course.
If you like.
Yeah.
So my owning property kind of came from that, is that you can run out of everything, but you can't run out of land. There's so many people in the world. There's not enough housing for the people that are in the world. So as much as you can kind of secure that, and, property is an investment. I learned that very, very early.
It is. It is an investment, if done with the right strategy, which we'll get to as well. So, I mean, I like the way you actually put the way or where the passion came from, where your mother says to you, where your grandfather's grave is not there, that means you're not from there, which is, quite plausible, really. So, I mean, the idea of the property newbie, which you mentioned earlier, where did that come from? Why did you start that innovation?
I got my first property in the UK soon after uni in 2006. And it's like, if some of you are aware of this, maybe your aunts or somebody might know this, but in 2008, the UK went into a recession.
Yes, they did, yes. Or we did, I should say. Yes, we did go into a recession.
Exactly. So the UK went into recession. So trying to hold on to a property that you got became a bit of a juggle. And so I started educating myself. I thought to myself, I said, okay, so there are people that are not, whose first option when everything is going wrong is not to sell. How are they holding on to these properties? So I started doing the research. What are the strategies you can do? Every time I came into Nigeria, every time I came to the UK from Nigeria, I would be attending webinars, attending network meetings, I was attending trainings, and just to hear what's happening, what's going on, hearing about buy-to-let, flips, in fact, down the line, HMOs, assisted living, all sorts of things. So I kept coming in, hearing different things. Why are these guys succeeding? Why does this work in this market? Why does that work in the other market? Why doesn't this work? And so I kind of, I learned, as you do with everything. I learned. I took to it. And we were traveling a lot. The market in the UAE had blown up. I think the first time I went to the UAE was in 1999.
Okay.
It's not, I think you would have to have gone there before they started these mega buildings to understand when you say from desert to high towers, that's literally what it was.
Yeah, the stories there. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and everyone kept saying how their market was going to collapse, how it wasn't sustainable, how it wasn't this. But, we were talking to some of the officials, like they had a strategy. So I was paying attention to that. How are you going to build all these luxury buildings? Who's going to be in it? Is this going to be like Switzerland? So it's going to be a place only for the rich.
Yeah.
But as we can, not necessarily the case.
No.
You know what I mean?
Accessible to everyone, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So, so it's a lot of. Even now, I read up and do a lot of research and talk to people operating in different parts of the world. Some of the issues that we face in London, for instance, London is one of the major capitals of the world. So housing issues in the UK and housing issues specifically in London, very similar to what's happening in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in New York. In fact, it's almost a template. And I'm sure if you check and spoke to someone in Lagos, they probably, it's kind of something.
Possibly similar to that as well. So is that where the idea of the property newbie came from? Because of all the experience you've actually gained over the years, and you saw that was a bit complicated for any, person to just say, okay, I want to gather all this information. You just, okay, property newbie, I'm going to create that and kind of like break down the information to individuals to be able to learn the strategies around property investment.
Because, if you come to me now, because what I've had a lot of friends come to me and say to me, look, I see you're into property. How can I get involved with this? How can I work with you? How can I, And, you know, we have a website, it's franok.com for anyone that wants to check it. It's FRANOK.com. And essentially it goes in there and it walks you through a process of if you're an investor looking for a property, you know, but it's quite detailed, if you like. You know, if you came in as a new investor and you say, look, okay, perhaps I don't have 200 grand or 300 grand or 500 grand, but I want to get into property. That's where the concept for the property newbie came from.
Okay.
It was a kind of information that's more easily digestible for you to now get a feel and say, you know what, based on the overview or the summary that I have, this is the area that I think for me is where I want to like explore more, because I mean, property is very wide.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, with that, what you said, I mean, I like that, you know, to kind of like break it down so that, you know, get in like a little chunk so you understand that. But, you know, for someone who's not very investment kind of like orientated or investment savvy, why invest in property? If someone came to you and say, you know, Mimi, you know, I see what you're doing, but why should I invest in property? What would you say to that person?
Well, if you look at property, you look at pensions, you look at stocks, you look at, and I'm talking if you look over 50 years, if you look at over 100 years, property is one of the most stable forms, at least UK property is definitely one of the most stable forms of investment. Immediately we went into the COVID, you know, the pandemic, the lockdown.
Yeah.
The UK government did everything they could to support property owners for the simple reason that the UK is an island. There's only so much available. So at the moment, they're short 4 million houses at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's confirmed data. You'll confirm that data that they're short 4 million. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So you can check this on Google, so it's not really hard to do. So if you just look at a very basic supply and demand issue, the more the resource is limited, the more stable it is, because everybody wants it. For every property that, you know, is available, you have a whole number of people waiting to get into that property. So it's the only time that property would not be secure is if you looked at property like all these pyramid schemes, or you looked at it like a get rich quick scheme, or you looked at it like, you know, if you're one of these MLM kind of, you know, people that think, yeah, I'm going to just do this and this will happen and do this, it's not for you.
It's not, yeah.
But if you're one that is planning ahead, I mean, a lot of these property owners we're dealing with now bought these properties, you know, at their time, they were able to buy properties in their 20s, in their 30s, and they were, you know, properties that they retained for their retirement. And, you know, I would give an example. A property I bought in 2006, did nothing to it, and got revalued in 2016 or 2017.
It's about 10 years. About 10 years after.
Yeah, it more than doubled in value. I didn't even paint it.
Wow.
I did nothing. I did nothing to the property. I didn't even paint it.
Okay.
So, you know, and this is in London. You know, this is in London, and for most places this would work. Now you might not get what I just described is what they call capital gain. So it's basically the value of the property, how much has gone up. Might capital gain, but it's very difficult in the UK for you to lose money on property because there's just houses.
Yeah, I mean, I see the data that you gave there about 4 million houses in deficit, you know, and with that, there's a lot of competition, which allows, you know, property prices to go up. What the great example you gave about property that, you know, within 10 years kind of like doubled in value. But I mean, with the current pandemic now, you know, what effect or what impact would you say that's had on the housing market within the UK?
If anyone has any kind of interest in property and you've been trying to buy a house in the last 3 months, you will see that we are in a kind of bubble where the price of houses went up in most parts of the UK. This is actually outside of London. Most properties went up within about 20% or so. People need things to live. It really is as simple as that. And then when you have a pandemic and people, maybe they were sharing a house and there were quite a few people, and then all of a sudden they decided, you know what, this was terrible to be in lockdown with 5 people. I need to get my own 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom. They need to go somewhere. So, and then when they leave, someone that was maybe in a hall with, I don't know, maybe for a student or something with 10 people, 15 people.
Yeah.
Now
Sorry, Mimi, we're kind of losing you a bit there. The signal seems to be going off gradually.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better now.
Yeah. So basically, it's a very simple thing. The prices of property in the UK went up within the last 3 months.
I mean, I hear that. I mean, do you think it has anything to do with the packages that the Chancellor announced around the first lockdown, around stamp duty reduction and, things around that? Was that like an artificial stimulus for the housing market?
Yeah, that helped. That helped the property prices not drop. But the prices had already started going up immediately of the first lockdown. So when he put the stamp, because to be fair, the stamp duty applies to property up to £500,000. So that's most of the UK, yeah? So that exemption would apply to that. Now, if you're in London, many of us know that £500,000, you might just starting in some areas of London, especially if you're central. You know what I mean? So that wasn't the only reason. The removal of the stamp duty helped, but it wasn't the only reason that the prices went up. But another thing to remember about this, what's happening with the economy right now is the last time we had a recession was because there was a problem with the financial systems that they were operating.
Yeah, around the mortgage systems, yes.
Yes, the banks and all that. This time was because of a pandemic, so it's an entirely different situation. The factors that drove the market, like literally diving the last time, and not the same. It's not the same scenario. It might feel the same to some people, but I mean, now you can afford to get furloughed, you can afford to get this. We're still on furlough till March, I believe.
Yes, that was announced yesterday.
Yeah, so this is nothing like the last time. The last time was a crunch. There was no money.
Okay.
There was no access to money because the system. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I mean, with the property newbie and what you described earlier, I mean, what type of property services do you provide for new investors and existing investors?
So what we do is with the property newbie is kind of like anyone trying to get into property investment and have no idea where to start. So you come on there and have a look. And what we're trying to do is kind of get your head right, if you like. So trying to figure out from where you are, because property investing is very personal.
Yeah.
It's from where you are, what are your goals? So we're hoping to kind of clarify that when you come into the property newbie. Now, when you're talking to me in my company, I'm not trying to do that. You already know what you're doing. You already know what you want. So what we do is we help you sell your properties. We help you get your properties out. We manage your properties. We help you find the properties you want to invest in, help you with renovation on those properties, and then back to selling, letting, etc. We help you with maintenance of those properties. So in terms of the property newbie, what we're trying to do is to send to you. So we want you to tell us, okay, I'm interested in investing, because you might not want to be investing in London, you might want to invest in Milton Keynes, you might want to invest in South Wales, you might want to invest in Yorkshire, it depends on what is your own personal circumstance, if you like.
Yeah.
So that's where the newbie is trying to narrow it down.
Yeah, maybe sorry again. It's just that the signal keeps going in and off. It was quite better earlier. I don't know if you maybe could adjust the headset or just move to a location where it'll be better.
Let's see if this works. How is this now?
That's perfect, yes.
Okay, so it might be the phones, yeah. So what we're trying to do with the property newbie is to kind of give you a kind of introduction to property investing, if you like. So we're speaking the same, if you're going to go into property, if I was a scammer or somebody that was very unserious, I would just say to you, how much money do you have? Okay, bring your money. I'm going to give you this amount of returns. We do give that service, yeah?
Okay.
But I need to understand what your investment strategy is. What's your plan? Do you have kids? or are you single now? Do you have kids? Are you trying to plan for your kids? Are you trying to plan for yourself? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Or maybe you're even about to retire and you've been saving money and you're trying to change your lifestyle, downgrade, upgrade. I need to know where you're coming from when I'm talking to you. So what I'm giving to you when you come to the property community is a kind of way of figuring out where are you, like, where's your mindset, what you want to do. So these are all the different ways that you can work in property, or you can invest in property, or you can even just do it hands off. Joint venture, you do a joint venture.
Okay.
All the work, and you get your returns. You can do that, and we tend to have that with especially people that are going into retirement. Yeah, so those guys tend to be the kind of, or people that are in very high tension jobs at the moment, but have access to cash. But what that also means is that they have a basic understanding of investment. Because I am not someone that would work with someone uneducated in investment. I would rather you have a good idea of what it is you want to do, because it's money, and it can be quite a lot of money.
Of course.
That's property. So that's where the property newbie comes in. It's kind of a soft, like, this saved me at uni was this For Dummies. The For Dummies book.
Yes. Yes, For Dummies. So it comes in different series, isn't it? Yes.
Exactly, and that's essentially what the property newbie is. It's
fantastic.
But the difference is that it's interactive.
It is interactive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note, we're just going to go for a short break, and we shall be back on the other side. Just stay locked on, stay locked in, and make sure you come back with us on the other side, because Mimi's going to be giving us more information on how you can get into property investments and how the property newbie can be a great thing for you to get into. Stay locked on, stay locked in. It's your host, Double9, on Double9Radio. Hello, welcome back. It's the Double9Radio show with our fantastic guest, the most humble, the most hardworking, the serial entrepreneur, Mimi, who's been sharing a lot of information around property investments and how you can get into it. She talked about the property newbie as well, where it's broken down, like she, kind of compared it to the Dummy series books, where you can actually get away from the jargons and get to the real information. They're here to help you out and get you moving into that property investment field as well, to save for retirement or whatever your goal is. So, Mimi, welcome back again. Thank you for coming on the show again. I really appreciate your time as well.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So, we were talking about, the services you provide around the property newbie for new investors and existing investors.
Yeah.
So, for new investors, you help them, but you want to deal with people that at least have an idea of what property investment is, really.
It makes life easier, both for them and for us. So yes, we do try to kind of soften the ground a bit before taking people on.
Okay, so do you provide any kind of, is it an opportunity to train people as well, maybe for someone who doesn't know anything about property investment at all, doesn't understand, what it is to invest in property? Does Property Newbie kind of offer any kind of guidance around that?
Yeah, so what we're working on now is based on the feedback that we've had. So we're working on a kind of, right now what we have an investors group on Facebook, which you kind of have to do those simple pre-qualifying things where you can come in.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, on Instagram, where we're just giving you just bite-sized information on property in general. Now, what we're working on next is a kind of, if you like, webinar style platform.
Okay.
Where, you can log in there, go on to the information, hear about it, read about it, just to give you you could, to be honest, you could actually get started. I mean, the market's a bit different than when I started, but before you could actually get started on very basic investments with the information that we'd be providing to you. Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you were going to get started on the very basic stuff, the information is enough. That is usually property investment is about money. Yeah.
It is.
That's the truth.
Substantial amounts of money.
Yeah, it's about getting access to money or having the money yourself. So what we do is kind of inform you about the different ways that you can invest in property, And then depending on what your personal circumstances, what roads you can take to get into it. Just because you have no money doesn't mean you can't get into property investment. You know, that's a kind of misconception that people have. But the less money you have, the more you need to educate yourself. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Say that again. The less money you have, the more you need to educate yourself. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. Yeah, because for you want to get the best deal, isn't it? You know, you want to get the best deal. You can't be, you know, reckless with the money in this case.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, because you're leveraging your reputation. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so you need to make sure that you know. So that is where we'd be looking to mentor people, in the process of how we work. Like, how do you get into property investment? Depending, again, on the individual. So we'll be mentoring you to see where your head's at, where your target is, when you know, what the different strategies are, and where your natural inclination lies. Yeah, it's not, everything is not for everybody.
Of course.
And that's, you know, the truth of it. However, if you do have some money, if you do have 100K, 200K, 300K, you have a bit more options, because you can, it's a bit more like, you're investing to, you're literally learning on the job. Yeah. So you're bringing in money and you say, okay, you know what, I've got 200 grand. I want to start investing in property. We now go back and start talking about, what's your background? What are you trying to get to? What's your family circumstance? What are you trying to do with this property portfolio? Is it something, are you looking to flip? We can then advise you on the market as it is today. The thing with property is, when you're talking about property investment, you need to calculate what's happening in the market today, not what we hope to happen in the market in 5 months or 6 months. Because as some of us will see with COVID and everything that's happened, you can't really do that. Yeah. And anyone that tells you otherwise is just trying to scam you. You have to say to...
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Yeah, I am agreeing with you. I agree with you. I just love the way, you know, you describe the process, because like a lot of people would probably not do the necessary due diligence of having that conversation with that investor, the potential investor, who has the a bit of finances. Okay, I want to, you know, play around with this money. You know, they'll just probably just go in and say, okay, you know, just put your money there, put your money there. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you know, the goal for that individual might not be aligned to what the property investor is doing. So it's very important to have that, you know, due diligence as well, which is quite remarkable that you're doing that. And also, the thing I wanted to touch on, which you mentioned, is, you know, you don't look at the you know, now investment. Don't look at 5 months. Look further down the line. But I want to ask, you know, what are the directions of the economic and social indicators trending at present?
Well, we don't know. What we knew previously was that by October, the furlough was going to end. We were going to perhaps see quite a lot of jobs lost. And then you weren't sure about the sort of, you know, first-time buyer market, because they were the ones that tended to get really, really affected by these job losses, yeah?
Yes.
But now the furlough has been extended to March. The government is putting in a lot of things in place for people to not fire. You know, so unless you work in hospitality, essentially, in theory, you should kind of be okay, yeah? Because you're getting, what, 80% or so of your...
Yeah, 80%.
Yeah, so you should kind of be okay. Right, what we're finding is, for example, if you were in service accommodation in central London, you would have taken a hit, because service accommodation in central London tends to be geared towards tourists or people that were coming into the city for projects.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the companies are not obviously running in the city because they've been working from home, blah, 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 blah. However, if you were perhaps in an area that has development, they have like a project, maybe the Crossrail, you know, and you had service accommodation around those areas, you probably should still be okay, because those projects are still running and the contractors need a house somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because most of them come in, work on site, and maybe go home at the weekend. So they would probably still be around and might not want to go back home, because they don't want to spread They don't want the potential.
Exactly. The COVID-19 or coronavirus
You
thing.
see what I mean? And then if you had students, for example, if you were doing student housing, maybe HMOs, you're not affected because the universities are still operational and are still, in session. Maybe at reduced numbers because I think it's something like at least maybe 60% of them came back to school at least on average.
Yes, you're quite right. So I mean, with all that information and data you just shared with us now, what type of properties would you say are best for investments? Are we looking at new properties? Are we looking at old properties? Are we looking at HMOs? Are we looking at service apartments? I mean, as a property investor yourself, with a vast number of years of experience, what would you say?
My primary area of investment is Central London. Right now in Central London, and talking to the clients that we work with, they are looking for 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms in Central London. Yeah?
Yeah.
They're looking for places with a bit of outside space, a balcony, a patio even, where before, a 1 bedroom would do. Once you're talking about a couple or a couple with a family, they cannot deal with a 1 bedroom. So it has to be a 2 bedroom, a 3 bedroom. 4 bedrooms, not really. But, in some areas, if you're talking about the more suburban areas, then yes, that would definitely work for them. But within Central London, it's 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. But realistically, being more realistic on the rentals, the rental fee, because now, like I said to you, the city, like the companies in the city are not operating the same way. So they're not paying those extortionate, kind of fees because there's a shortage of housing. They're not paying those kind of rents. It's not just the same thing because we're not having a lot of international people the way we would usually.
Yes.
And that's a lot of the market to come into London. Again, if you are talking within the M25, but not necessarily in Central London, if you go to the Golders Green even, they're looking for houses, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom houses with a garden, So it would depend on who is coming to invest and what their goal is. For my goal is, I'm dealing within the M25. I know what we're looking for is 2, 3 bedrooms. In terms of in terms of the people that I deal with and the people that I'm supplying properties to, they're not particularly fussed whether the property is new build or old build, but there has to be a standard to the property. So it has to be well renovated. It has to be, now we have a lot of checks that we have to go through and tick boxes and compliance and all sorts of things that we need to be sure of. So if you have like maybe someone that had a little high street in their area and maybe a dentist's office that's closed down or shops that have closed down, those could be great properties for us to convert. We would be interested in those because we wouldn't be pulling the building down. We would literally be taking on the shell of the building and repurposing that building for more accommodations, for more residential houses. So we'd be very interested in those. But like I said, the main problem I see that London investors are having is that they're very unrealistic with their pricing. So some people know that we're looking for commercial properties that we want to convert. So they start pricing the properties so high, because they're anticipating all this profit they think you're going to get. So that means that you don't want that, because why would I go spend all that money and spend maybe 18 months developing a place and not be able to pull out my cash? We don't. At the end of the day, we hope that everything is better by next summer, but we don't actually know what will be happening next summer.
No one knows.
So we're operating on what the market is today. So the decisions were made based on what the market is today. So if this is the situation, is this a good deal or not?
Okay.
And so it doesn't matter if it's an old building or a new building, quite frankly, as long as it's a sound building.
And a sound building that's passed all the checks and, that it's required. Okay. I mean, so you mentioned something about the goal, the goal of a property investor. What should be that goal of that property investor? Who's, someone who's going to invest in a property? What should be the goal of that person?
If you're going to invest in property, your goals have to be long term. You can't look at property, like I said, property is not a short-term investment strategy. And for most of the people that I talk to, I say to them, if you're looking for a short-term investment in property, you need to wait for the market to become more buoyant so that as you're building, you're flipping it. There's a market, you're selling it immediately. It's not saying that that market for flipping is not buoyant at the moment, but not necessarily buoyant in London. And the numbers that are being flogged, like I said, we had a bit of a bubble over the summer. So the numbers that are being flogged are a bit exaggerated. So when it comes to valuation for getting mortgages on those properties, they don't stack up. So the mortgage company is not going to put a mortgage on the property just because the price is just too high, because they know what the real market for that property is. They're not looking at just the last few months. They're looking at the trends. What are the jobs? What are the people in that area? What jobs do they have? How much are their average salaries? Can they afford the rent that you're proposing? So it's very much, anything with property investment is not a short-term strategy. So it's not an overnight thing, So if you're looking at property, it's wonderful as a long-term strategy. It's wonderful if you're thinking, 3 years, 5 years, even, a year, But if you say, within the next 3 months, I'm going to turn into an overnight billionaire, property is probably not for you.
Probably not for you. Wow. You heard it there from Mimi. Probably it's a long-term goal. You have to be able to forecast. Set yourself up. As you mentioned earlier, she gave a great example where she bought a property in 2006, and 10 years or 11 years later, the price has doubled, and she actually didn't spend any money in renovating that property as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, keep the questions coming in as well. Thank you for everyone sending questions in. We will be asking before the end of the show as well. Okay, so we know what the goal of a property investor should be. It should be a long-term goal that you should be looking at as a property investor. So, I mean, from your point of view, what factors, can negatively affect or impact investing in property?
Everything. Natural disasters. If you bought a property that wasn't properly surveyed, and then all of a sudden you've got subsidence, or you've got let me just start off by saying there's something about property in that as long as the land still exists, you can come back from whatever bad thing has happened to the actual building. It will cost you more. So you can have subsidence, you can have Japanese knotweed, which maybe 10 years ago was a really big deal, because once you found Japanese knotweed in the property, it became unmortgageable. That's not really the case now because there are treatments for it, and their company is in it, and basically there are ways around it. But it's for a first-time investor, it might be what you don't want to hear because it all depends on your budget, or you didn't. Like some people were buying from auctions and you haven't seen the property, and then you get there and find the property doesn't actually have a roof. So your budget, if you didn't plan properly, you didn't anticipate the cost. So, or you thought, okay, I've seen this place, it's 2-bedroom, I'm going to get it and turn it into a 4-bedroom, and then, but you hadn't planned for planning permission.
Planning permission,
now, but having said that, depending on the area that you're in, we have what we call permissive development going on at the moment. I think it's running up till next year, where you can go up in a property, like you can make some adjustments within the property, up to 2 stories, I believe it is, without needing permission. That's very long. But that's what the market is very exciting at the moment, for property investors.
It is exciting. And also, I think this caution should be applied as well. I mean, that was a couple in the news, I think a couple of weeks ago, who had bought a property, was first-time buyer, for investment purposes. Well excited to get to buy the property. But what happened was, I'm sure you know about the cladding issue that happened at the Grenfell Tower. And everyone started, being aware of that. Some people are aware of it, some people are not. I think at the time they bought the property, it looked so beautiful because the cladding was amazing. And they found it hard to actually sell that property to move into a bigger property, because they now decided, okay, we've saved enough money from buying this, 1-bed, 2-bed flat. We want to move into a bigger flat. But they struggled to sell the property because of the cladding on the flat. I mean, as a property investor, what will be your strategy to buying properties where maybe there's cladding on them or not cladding on them, or you're not even sure if it's cladding? What will be your strategy in going to that kind of field?
This is my point. Is that's where your due diligence comes into play. Yeah. Before you buy a property, you're going to check everything. You're going to have pay someone, a RIC surveyor, preferably, to come in. It's cheaper to pay them than to deal with a property you can't use for the purpose you wanted it for. Some people think it's, you're going to spend $751 grand, and then these guys, they take so long. It's better for them to just check that property, yeah?
Yeah.
So having said that, things like the cladding issue, it would be a matter of dealing with the insurance companies. It would be a matter of dealing with identifying what were you buying that property for. If I'm an investor, it's for a rental property. Is it an insurable property? That's number one. What were the problems with the cladding in the first place, and what has been done on that property to offset those problems? Is it a safe property? Am I able to even put in more safety features? Do I need to put more carbon monoxide alarms? Do I need to put... Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are things that I do as an investor that maybe is not necessarily like, you deal with the basic compliance of the law, and then you deal with the humanity aspect of it. Like, okay, if this was me, what would make me feel more comfortable in this property? There being maybe an alarm somewhere, is there a cladding? Am I able to take off the cladding? And if it's in a block, how does that affect? Because even if you take off the cladding in your particular property, how about your neighbors?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the safety? And many of these blocks would be leasehold buildings anyway. So who's the owner of the lease? Is it the council? What have they done about it? And then, look, if you have a property you can't move because of issues that you can't control, i.e., things maybe the council needs to do, you now have a project. You need to get on the council. You need to become everyone in the council to make sure those safety issues are addressed, because whether it's you living there or another person living there, those problems are not going away anyway. So pretending, oh, well, there's nothing I can do, oh my God, I'm going to have to stay. If you're living in that property, you want to be safe anyway. If you have to sell the property, you want to be sure that it's safe anyway. So get on the phone to the council. Find out what are the safety procedures, because most of them have to do a kind of report after Grenfell, yeah?
Yeah.
Have they implemented those changes? And if they haven't, why not? And then when perhaps the mortgage company that's refusing to give the mortgage for the person to buy the property, you ask the mortgage company, what would we be able to do to make this property sellable? What would we be able to do to make the property mortgageable? And they will tell you. They will say, well, what we have is, they'll probably send you a list of things that they need done. So there's, the thing with property investing is that you're a problem solver, yeah?
Yeah.
So you're coming up with solutions. You're going in there, having a look, and, okay, how can we help this person that owns this property? How can we help this person that's looking to get into a property? Once you think of it that way, then, you will find a solution, because there always is a solution.
There is always a solution. And, that's where Property Newbie also comes in to provide you that solution as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, if we look at the different societies, we look at the Asian society, we look at the Jewish society, we look at the Afro-Caribbean or African society and Caribbean society, and we look at the degree or the level of home ownership. We see that some parts of the Asian society, particularly around the Pakistani Indian society, came on top as that they own, a lot of properties, and they do, they invest more within the property field than any other ethnic minority, even above the English, who are the original individuals or the citizens of this country, I should say. I mean, we're all citizens, but you know what I'm saying. So
yeah,
the reason for that, as people have said, is because people come together and kind of put money in a pot and invest in properties they now resell those property and invest in more and more. But my question to you is, do you think that's a good way to invest within the African society? If yes, why do you think problems are occurring, or that's not even being done within the African society itself?
I think the first thing we need to come to a realization with is, amongst the groups you've mentioned, Africans as a group, the newest to the UK. Yeah?
Yeah.
So the Chinese, the Indians, they've been coming around for quite a few decades now. The Caribbeans, they've been coming around for quite a few decades now. The African society has kind of, many African societies in the UK are sort of second generation, if that.
Okay.
We're not third, fourth, fifth generation. The longer you are somewhere, the more entrenched, if you like, in that place you are. So we're still new. And for where we come from, we've kind of gone far in a short period, yeah? So in that sense, we're kind of still playing a game of catch-up. The second thing that we need to address is, as you've mentioned, a lot of these communities come together, put their monies together, their investments together. They have their communities and they fund projects. Yeah.
Yes.
For whatever reason, whether it's cultural or whether it's just practical for them. What we're hoping is that within the Africans in the UK are coming to a kind of mass, if you like, or realization that we also need to have a voice. We also need to support ourselves. We also need to reach out to ourselves. We also need to put our knowledge base together. So once we've recognized and actually started implementing that, then we will see the same numbers going up. Because
I agree.
I agree. It's just the nature it is. Property is a very people business.
It is.
You're buying houses to give to people to be. So it's very much about people and communities.
Exactly.
So, so we just need to realize that's one of the reasons I came on here. It was, let's talk to the community. Let everyone know that we can help each other. So I might have to know, you might know somebody selling a house. You might want to get into property investment. You might know how to access the funding. Let's talk about it. What can we get done to move forward to the next step? We know a lot of people that are trying to get on. Everybody's trying to get on the property ladder, especially if you're in the Southeast. You know how hard it is. How can we bring houses that are within a kind of, price range to make it affordable for people to be able to get onto the property ladder?
Amazing.
Maybe you know someone that works in a council somewhere that knows about the funding available for us to do this. Maybe you know somebody that works in a finance company that knows about the funding available for us to do this. Because when it comes right down to it, scaling projects up or building projects up, it comes down to the money and the access to finance.
Yes.
And as we see in many cases, not just within the property market, the Africans are at a bit of a disadvantage, and only because we need to, what's that word they're saying now? Soros, okay.
Yes, Soros, okay, yes. Speak up.
We need to speak up.
Yes.
We need to speak up a bit, and that comes from, it's on every level. We need to speak.
I totally agree.
We'll say Dagamuria.
Say it again. We say Mama Muria.
Dagamuria. Lift your voice up.
Dadamuria. Okay, fantastic. I love Nigeria, man. We're such a unique bunch of people, very loving, very, very, very engaging. But I think what's missing is the trust issue of having an organization who can stand up and take the charge to bring people together and say, yes, we can get this done for you, because it's very accessible. Because we see, in the ethnic minorities I mentioned earlier, we have individuals, they could be up to about 100, and 100 of them have contributed £1,000 each, and that's £100,000. And they go buy a property, invest in that property with an agreement in place, and trust is already there. So with that £100,000, they buy a property, know that, okay, they're going to keep it for the next 5 years. Next 5 years, is appreciated a bit, remortgage it, buy another property, ongoing like that. And the property portfolio carries on increasing. But I think, the property newbie could be the forefront of this innovation.
I was waiting to see where you were going with that. It's funny, there's quite a few property crowdfunding platforms. I'm not sure how successful they are, but I know there are. And it's not an impossible concept. What I would say is, with anything that we're doing, I don't mind how far this goes. It's a matter of compliance, because there's already systems. Look, there's nothing that we're doing or nothing that's not being done already. So what you're describing, like I said, they're actually online crowdfunding platforms that you can do that. And if we were going to set something like that up, it's a matter of compliance. So
Exactly.
if you're going to set how the money is going to work, how it's going to, it's just a matter, it literally is just a matter of compliance. And there's very many ways of doing it. Simple ways, actually.
I agree. I think it's the same way where you've broken now, the mortgage jargon, if I could call it that, into small bites where people can understand and know that, okay, yes, you can invest in this way, can invest that way, rather than having all the whole book, in front of you and say, okay, go read all that. So property newbies broken things into bite sizes where individuals can understand and say, okay, this is what I need, kind of thing. So you mentioned compliance. Yes, compliance is very important. I think, with compliance, it's just to know how, isn't it? But I think the other thing that's actually probably affected, or kind of like allowing the community to go in that direction is information. Lack of information, lack of know-how, lack of direction, lack of leadership could be that as well. So
what you're describing, what you've just described, it exists already. I mean, I've mentioned the online platform, but we also have something called real estate investment trust. And it's basically what you just described. It's several investors that buy property, and then the fund owns the property. And the returns are paid based on how the investment is doing. So that's on rental income of the property. It's very low entry. So you put, like you said, small amounts of money, relatively small amounts of money in, and it's very easy to come out of them. The structures for all these things exist, and where I can help, I'm happy to help.
The structures exist, but we're talking about the structure for the African community. The structure exists out there, but there's no unique one to kind of like understand and come from the angle of the African society. I'm just putting that there. As well. Okay.
No, I agree. Well, you see, this is my approach, and I think, we kind of brushed up on this before when we spoke, and I said to you, when I put a product out, my avatar is not necessarily based on race, if you like.
No, I agree. There has to be a kind of openness that anyone can be, patronize the business. But with every business as well, there's always a business model that caters for different niches of the society, I think.
Exactly. And now the difference with what I would be interested in is, you see, I wouldn't be interested in certain aspects of the profiling, because all these things are about profiling, So where maybe by a postcode you're immediately profiled, or by...
It happens already, yes.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that would not interest me in the profile. But what would interest me is everything else, the behavior. So but if you're talking about a real estate investment trust, it's the person that's going to be checking off to see that we fit into, we fit into that kind of structure they would be comfortable putting their money into. And it's a responsibility. It's not an impossible thing to run, but it's definitely something that we should, it's something that could be explored. Definitely.
Okay, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Mimi said it can be explored. So look out, you never know. It might be coming soon. It was discussed on the radio, first on Double9Radio. Okay, so, I mean, what do you consider the factors that make a good investment?
Well, for me, as in my kind of investment profile, I'm looking for things that would be anything 10% up, 20% preferably, if it's going to be anything that involves any bit of development at all, it has to be a minimum of 20% return on investment. That's for me. However, if you're talking to someone that's got money sitting in the bank doing nothing, especially now where the interest rates are 0. I don't even know.
0.0 something,
So 5% investment for most investors works. In my experience, a 5% is pretty decent. 6%, of course, anything higher is very good. But for me, as a kind of investor, I'm looking anything between 10 to 20% in this market. If the market was a lot more normal, you could be looking at higher than that. But within this market, I would say between 10 to 20%.
Okay, fantastic. That's really good. Okay. Before I go to the questions, because I think you got loads of people very excited this evening. We've got quite a few questions that have come in. I want to ask, what should we expect from Mimi in the near future?
Well, we have 3,000 houses buying for us in 3 years. We have 3,000 houses to buy in 3 years, so that's the project right now going on, and for the next 3 years.
And for the next 3 years, fantastic. Okay, let's quickly go into the questions. I do apologize, my listeners, if I don't ask a question, so do bear with me as well. And I can see some people just put their name, so please do put your name and where you're listening from so we know. Okay, the first question is from John. John didn't say where it's from. It's just a very simple question. How long have you been investing in real estate?
The first property I bought by myself was 2006.
Okay.
So
2006.
I don't know.
Okay, fantastic. Right, so next question we have Kenny from Grays says, what investment strategy have you had the most success with?
In terms of a very quick, a very quick return, it was service accommodation.
Service accommodation, okay. Okay. Got another question from Stacy from Norway. How did you find your investing niche?
By getting started. I was an accidental landlord, which means you kind of fall into it without knowing what you're doing. And once we had the credit crunch and we were trying to find our way and how to manage the property, how to not lose it, how to build, how to expand, blah, blah, blah. So once you get started, you kind of find your niche. The other way to do that is to determine your gold mine area. So your gold mine area, for me now, my gold mine area is central London and anywhere I can get to within an hour of central London. So yours should ideally be where you are or within an where you are. Okay. And that would when you do the research in that area, that would probably determine what would be the best strategy to work within that area.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that answer. Okay, we have James from Tottenham. What are your long-term goals within the real estate industry?
3,000 houses in 3 years.
Wow.
So,
she's going to have 3,000 houses in 3 years.
Yeah.
Mimi, where can I sign? Where can I sign? Where can I? Hey?
Very aggressive. We actually did the projections as a joke. I think it was this time last year, actually. So we did the projections as a joke this time last year, and I was going to get started on that next year. And then COVID happened, so that plan just came forward.
Wow.
So we've kind of started. I can't really talk about a lot of the stuff that we're doing until it's done. So we've kind of started, but yeah, it's a. That's why I'm on here. I'm looking for more bodies. So we need more bodies in the UK, more people. Do you have the properties? Do you have the funding? Do you have? Let's go. Let's
go. You know, you heard that. She'll be giving out the details of how you can reach her just before the end of the show. So we have another question from Alice in Dundee in Scotland. I think Dundee in Scotland. She says, what do you think is the best way for a beginner to get started in real estate investing?
Educate yourself. There are lots of podcasts. We even have a podcast. There's a Property Newbie podcast, so there's loads. Educate yourself, get onto YouTube, get onto every platform that you're checking out all the fashions and all the best food. Get onto those platforms, start educating yourself.
Okay. Educate yourself. That's what she said there. Educate yourself. Just read all the books you can, and and reach out to Property Newbie as well. They can probably give you some direction as well. Okay, another question. We got Femi from Lagos. Says, what specific things do you look for in an investment property?
It has to be. It has to be a property that, okay, to be honest, here in London or the UK, freehold is usually preferable.
Okay.
A freehold property is usually preferable. It's not the only property. We would work with leasehold because, again, we're in London. But a freehold property is usually the best. Close to amenities, of course. Close to, transport links, close to shops, especially grocery shops.
Yeah.
That's also a big. What else would be looking for? And safety, in terms, it has to be a kind of relatively safe area. Would I want to live in that area? So it doesn't have to be, bougie, only a certain type of person. No, but is it somewhere that I'd comfortably walk down the road?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, before I get back to the question, something just came to mind now. I mean, I remember, back in the day, Brixton, property prices wasn't that expensive. And I would say a bit of regeneration just occurred probably over the last couple of years, and the property prices just went up. I mean, how can you tell when, somewhere's about to be regenerated? So, you kind of buy the properties or something. Is there a specific way you can tell? Do you have like a marvel, or what's this thing, this magical ball that you look in and say, yes, this is going to happen?
Yeah, for most cities, or most countries, but most cities, there are reports. Yeah, so there are 5-year reports on what the plan for the city is. Yeah, and you can find these on government platforms or government-related platforms. And what you would do then is go and see what is the plan for your city or what is the plan for your neighborhood. Yeah. Are they intending to bring in new transport links? Are they intending to build new infrastructure, maybe a new hospital, new school? Are they bringing in, for example, if you're in the UK, some places, got Amazon outlets. These, they're warehousing.
Yeah, wow, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're trying to see what is coming into your area. And then based on that, you would determine, okay, so if you have like a new mall in your area, who is that more targeted to? What are the kind of people they're looking for? What are they? And if it's a hospital, same thing. Who are the people? What kind of hospital is it even? Who are the people they are targeting? What kind of people are going to be coming in there? What's the support staff for that? So within that, you can kind of get a feel for most places, there's not enough land. So most places, all this I'm saying, there are places we have land in that you can't even get to. There are no roads to them, but we're just waiting because the town always comes to meet the land.
So you already know them. You already know that the land is, properties being built there. Yeah. Wow. As I said earlier, where do I sign to be part of this Property Newbie? You must take me along this journey. Okay. Let's go back to the question. I'm just going to take a couple more questions. I'll just take this one. This is Tolu from Abuja says, do you recommend any helpful resources as an investor? What resources can they actually look at? I think you just mentioned that just a minute ago, but you can just repeat that.
To be honest, in general, like I said, you can come onto our platform. So we have very basic telling you the different kinds of things you can do, buy-to-let flips, rates, whatever, HS and things like that. So we'll give you the basic information. But if it's going to be something specific to your town, the first thing you should be going to is the planning. Find your planning office. Become their best friend. Go online, check. Become their best friend. Find out in your area what's going on. What's the plan for it? And what kind of housing are they looking for? What kind of housing are they approving? Yeah? So there's no need to, I'm going to come and build mansions in this street. In the meantime, they only have approvals for you to build flats. What's the point?
Exactly.
So it's working with the planning people. What's the plan? Because another thing you need to be aware of is if you don't follow the plan, you're going to spend so much time, especially if you're in Abuja, you will pay you're going to spend so much time paying fees that you don't need to be paying. So if you find what the plan is, and these plans do exist, I can just assure you, because especially Abuja is a plan city, so these plans do exist. So find the plan for your area, or the area you've decided is your investment area. What is the plan for those properties? What sorts of properties are there? What sorts of properties are people actually looking for? Yeah. So, depending on the part of Abuja you're in, the rents might be really high. So maybe they're now looking for, smaller flats within a block, that kind of thing, where you can have more people, with like 1 bedroom and within a building, as opposed to 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, or, depends on the area. So I would talk to the planning office first. They would even be able to direct you to even sometimes people that are looking to sell properties at very reduced prices.
Okay, Tolu, you heard it there, right there from Mimi, give you all that advice about your question. Okay, this is the final question I'll take. I apologize if I don't get to your question because of time. So this is Christy from Oxford. Christy says, how do you feel about investing in property out of the United Kingdom?
Again, it depends on your strategy. What are you trying to do? You can invest anywhere. Like some of our clients have property. That's why their property in London is being empty for a lot of the year, because they're in every other country. So some people invest. What's your investment profile? Like, why are you investing? Why do you want to invest outside of the UK? If you live in the UK, what is your motivation for investing outside of the UK? How do you intend to property? Because you have to remember something about property is it's a very hands-on kind of project, So even if you're not the one managing it, you want to be sure that the person you have managing it is doing what they say they're doing. If not, you have a property that you need to spend a lot of money repairing and bringing back up to code or compliance, and that's just wasting your return.
Okay, you heard it there. Fantastic. I want to thank you for answering all those questions. I just wanted to touch on Happy Divas, because Happy Divas, I'm actually yearning to smell them. But I mean, see, I've already given it away already. The name Happy Divas. How did you come up with that name?
So previously, we had a previous name before, and there was like a lot of things happening when we started the company and when we came online. So I created at the time a BBM group. And because a lot of the people coming into, it's a well-being group. So a lot of people were having so much drama. Like they come in with all sorts of, this is happening, my skin is this, I have this, my pregnancy this, my hair fell out, my life is this, and so I created the group and we just called the group Happy Divas. Because I was just like done with the drama. I was like, can we just focus on things we can do things about? So if we call it Happy Divas, then maybe people are going to go into that, like, yeah, you're going to be a diva, you're going to have your moments, but at the end of the day, you're going to brush yourself up and get on with life.
Exactly.
That's life.
You'd be a happy diva, isn't it? So, I mean, there's a happy divas range, which you do.
Yes.
Yeah. What is that? Is that, I mean, I know it, do you want to tell our listeners?
So Happy Divas is a skin, hair and fragrance company. So what we've been doing in the last sort of 3 years is having what we call product drops. So we've had 2 series of hair products, which have been very popular, and we've sold out on all of them. And then this year we introduced, or I should say reintroduced, a perfume fragrance line. So we have Voti, which means beauty in full day, and then Aifa. So Aifa is inspired by the northeast of Nigeria. So it's inspired by this whole mysterious culture, and it's a unisex fragrance.
Okay.
And so that's really where we have another drop coming for the end of the year for Christmas, but I'm not really going to say what it is because we kind of leaked.
Oh gosh, she's not going to lick it live and exclusive on Double9Radion. But I think
I'm not going to say.
She's not going to say. But I think Happy Divas is going to do a giveaway on Double9Radion at some point, isn't it? Yes.
Sure. I mean, look, if anyone can come on next week, I guess the next one, or even next, I've listened in today and give 3 strategies of property that I've spoken about. As long as your country allows us to ship fragrance to you, we can send you out a bottle, like a perfume bottle and even the room spray and body spray bottle, so you can like rock it and enjoy it. Just let us know, are you male or female? So you have to give us 3 of the strategies that we spoke on today.
Look at that. Very easy. Very easy there for Mimi.
Let's begin. You can find us, The Property Newbie, on Instagram.
Yes.
Wink, wink.
Property Newbie on Instagram, and also Happy Divas on Instagram as well. You know,
Yes,
Happy
on
Divas,
Instagram.
HAPPYDEVAS. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got that right.
Fantastic. At Instagram as well, amazing. Make sure you follow them as well. And you know, the perfumes are amazing. You know, they're amazing as well.
Yeah.
So you need to get, that's our strategy, trying to get maybe to give us a giveaway on the show. Maybe can I tell you the strategies? Maybe I can, you know, maybe I can enter the competition and just tell the strategies.
Yeah, we should do something. When we're coming with the next drop for the holidays, we should do like a giveaway for the listeners. Maybe by then would have started our secret project.
Yes, yes. Maybe would have. Okay. So I mean, if you could have a conversation, I know Mimi still, you know, is young. Mimi, I know. Maybe is probably about, you know, 18 years old or something. But if you could have a conversation with your younger self, what would that big conversation be like?
Go for it. Ignore them.
Ignore them. Just go for it. Just go.
To be fair, I actually always did, you know. But, you know, I went through a period in my life where I became very cautious, which isn't my natural state. But, yeah, I would just say go for it. Every single time where I had the thought, maybe I should be cautious, it's not that I shouldn't have been cautious, but I should still have gone at the same speed. Just cautiously, like prepare more and just go for it.
Okay. My final question on the show this evening would be: share a fun fact about Mimi.
I should what?
Tell us a fun fact about Mimi.
Oh God! So I'm addicted to ice cream.
To ice cream?
Yes. I can live on just ice cream and nothing else.
Any particular flavor?
Oh my God! Cherry Garcia used to be my dream flavor. I don't know what happened to Ben and Jerry's, and I don't understand why they decided not to sell that anymore.
We need to raise a petition. We need to sign a petition. What is this?
We need to change the org.
Yes. We need to change the org immediately. They need to bring that flavor back because the one that only Mimi wants it. Sorry, carry on.
But I loved it. I even tried to make it, but it just didn't taste the same.
Oh no. She tried to make it, but it didn't taste the same. I know. Ben and Jerry's, if you're listening, bring it back. Bring it back because Mimi wants it as well.
Yes, please.
Fantastic. I mean, Mimi, I have had such an amazing time, and I'm sure we're going to see you back on the show soon as well, you know, and looking forward to maybe back, you know, working on something amazing in the near future as well. You know, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show. I've had such an amazing time, and I'm sure my listeners have been able to learn one or two things as well about property investment and how lucrative it can be. So don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you know, follow the Property Newbie on Instagram, and also check out Happy Divas as well on Instagram as well. And what was the website again? Remind me of the website for the Property Newbie as well.
Well, the website you want for the property is www.fradnock.com. So it's FRANOK. So if you go into any of those forms, it's going to let you, like, you're going to go into the rabbit hole of getting into property.
Okay. And you come out on the other side, maybe earning 3,000 properties in a year. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Mimi said the challenge. You never know. But again, once again, Mimi, I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciated you coming on the show today, taking time out of the busy schedule as well. And I wish you great success in the future, and I wish you happiness and joy and good health as well. But before you go, do you have any, you know, parting words for my listeners this evening?
Well, first things first, thank you so much for having me. I've had a really great time. When you told me the time I was going to be on, I was thinking, what the heck are we going to be talking about?
I know. I'm thinking, yes.
So I'm very glad to be on. You know, you've had some really great guests on here. So the bar's been set very high. I think as Africans generally and as Nigerians, we're go-getters. We kick butts. I think we need to come together, put aside our differences, and go out in the world.
Amen. Amen to that. And yes, definitely. And that's what we aim to do on this platform as well, to encourage unity and encourage, you know, one another as brothers and sisters, and doing everything for the better of everyone and back home. Once again, Mimi, it's been amazing. It's been great. Don't forget again, ladies and gentlemen, the property newbie, Happy Divas on Instagram. Mimi, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. I shall speak to you soon.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.